Next Level Soul Publishing presents Yoga Lessons for Developing Spiritual Consciousness by A.P. Mukherjee. Read by William Sterling. Introduction to the Next Level Soul Edition. We live in curious times. The outer world is louder than ever, bombarding us with information, distraction, noise, and novelty. Yet, in the midst of all this clamor, a deeper hunger arises, a call from within that no amount of achievement, scrolling, or self-improvement can truly satisfy. This hunger is ancient. It is not for more, but for meaning. Not for stimulation, but for stillness. Not for escape, but for reunion. It is precisely this inner yearning that the path of yoga was designed to answer. Not in the modern gymnastic sense, but in its original, spiritual intent. Long before it became synonymous with spandex and sweat, yoga was a sacred science, a living philosophy for discovering the truth of who and what we really are beyond the confines of ego, identity, and illusion. It is a system not merely of beliefs, but of transformation. In the classic work, Yoga Lessons for Developing Spiritual Consciousness, we are gifted not just with philosophical speculation, but with precise spiritual direction. This book is a map, one drawn by a soul who has walked the territory. It teaches not just how to think about spiritual truth, but how to live it, how to embody it in breath, thought, and action. For it is only through such embodiment that we can begin to taste the real fruits of the spiritual life: inner peace, clarity of perception, self-mastery, and the quiet joy of living in harmony with the universe. Unlike so many modern texts that seek to dazzle or entertain, this work invites you into a deeper relationship with yourself. It is not written for the casual reader, but for the sincere seeker. If approached with reverence and discipline, it becomes a spiritual initiation, guiding you step by step from unconscious living toward divine remembrance. And yet, let us not be too solemn. Spirituality is not a burden to carry, but a freedom to uncover. The joy of yoga, in its highest expression, is the joy of discovering that there was never anything to fix, acquire, or become. The true self is already whole, already luminous. The practice is merely to see through the clouds that have gathered around it. And then, then, you begin to live, not as a separate being striving to reach something, but as the very expression of life itself. To support you in this sacred work, the Next Level Soul edition of this timeless text has been carefully crafted to deepen your journey. We recognize that spiritual concepts, while powerful, are only as effective as their integration. To that end, we've included 3 distinct tools with each chapter. A summary, offering a clear distillation of the chapter's core message, making it easier to revisit and recall the teachings. A selection of key points, highlighting the truths that most directly impact your consciousness and everyday awareness. And, most importantly, action items, concrete, inspired practices that help you weave the wisdom of yoga into the fabric of your daily life. These editions are not meant to replace the original teachings, but to enhance your experience with them, to transform reading into realization and learning into living. You may find that the chapters echo truths you've sensed all along but never quite articulated. Or they may challenge you, gently but firmly, to release cherished illusions about yourself and the world. This is not a flaw in the process. It is the process. For spiritual consciousness is not a thing to be acquired, but a veil to be lifted. And in that lifting, your entire perception of reality begins to shift. This book is not a promise of instant enlightenment, nor is it a prescription for bypassing life's challenges. Rather, it is a doorway, one that leads inward, where the true answers reside. It will not tell you what to believe. It will encourage you to see, not to follow blindly, but to wake up, to rediscover the teacher within, to become intimate with your own divine nature. So, take your time, read slowly, pause often. Let each lesson land not just in the intellect, but in the still, receptive space of your inner being. Come back to the chapters again and again. What you understand on the first reading may deepen with the second, and unfold in new ways during the third. That is the nature of true spiritual texts. They meet you wherever you are. In the end, yoga is not something you do. It is something you remember. It is not a technique, but a transformation. It is not a practice to master the world, but a surrender into the mystery of it. And in that surrender, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing the light and realize you are the light. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Yogi Conception of Life. If we study the action of mind upon mind, of mind over matter, of mind over the human body, we may realize how each man is a power in himself. To use Mr. Randall's phrase in his beautiful book on psychology, life is demonstrative. It speaks with a million tongues. Life stands for light and love. Contemplation of death, which is really a change, will not lead to happiness. All stagnation is death. Humanity is a moving mass, and this is true of it as regards single units as well as of the collective whole. Stop we cannot. We must go forwards, which is Godwards, or there is the backward line of progress, which is ignorance. Spasms of activity catch hold of us and push us onward, and, similarly, fear, weakness, and worry. The triple weapons of our old friend, the devil, catch us in their deadly grip and crib, cabin, and confine us. We all are preparing to live, day in and day out. Is it not so? The body ages. The soul is ever on the alert. We all are trying to grasp life in its proper perspective, to get a clear view of the goal ahead. Some say, I am for enjoying life. Some say, it is a bad mixture of heaven and hell, for the most part, hell. Others stand on neutral ground and say, let us make the best of a bad bargain. Since we are here, it is no use grumbling. This world is for our education. Right. Move we must. It may be progress forward or progress backwards. Life is a series of awakenings. Ideas dawn upon the mind from time to time, are caught up by brain and body, and find physical expression as acts. Our outward life with its environment is fitted to our inward development. Wealth, position, fame, power, all these are the simple expressions of individual character. This is not a platitude. Look and see for yourself. It is quite necessary that we should pass through certain experiences, that we rise from ideal to ideal. We create our own fate. Our sufferings, our joys, are so many projections from ourselves. We alone are responsible for them. Like the silkworm, we build a cocoon around the soul, and then feeling cramped, we set to loosening the bonds. Enjoyment is not, ought not to be the goal of life. Sense enjoyments end in satiety and exhaustion. Power and self, riches and all that riches mean, may tie us down to a narrow sphere. But in the long run, we do come to know that happiness is not in them. This is a tremendous truth, yet God mercifully screens it from us till we are prepared to receive it. What remains then? Man wants happiness. He rushes from one thing to another to grasp it, only to find everything slipping through his fingers. Let none deny it. The aim of philosophy is to put an end to pain. All pain is caused by ignorance. Apply the saving remedy of knowledge, and pain vanishes at once. This is a great fact, and all young men ought to stamp it well upon their minds. While we are upon this phase of our subject, it may be worthwhile to go farther into these important facts of life: pleasure and pain. Our thoughts and actions are the forces we send out of ourselves. All life is expression. The soul of man is trying to see itself in everything. How did the different organs of the body come into existence? How did man get his eyes, his ears, his nose, and so forth? How does the growth of things proceed on the subconscious plane of existence? The soul willed to see, and it saw; willed to hear, and it heard; willed to smell, and it smelt. That is the right explanation. Take a subject, throw him into a hypnotic trance, lead him into the deepest state possible, give him vigorous suggestions that a steady increase is taking place as to his physique. Repeat the suggestions twice every day for a few months, and you will have put pounds of flesh on his form. If you know anything of these things at all, you will be hardly astonished. A striking case once occurred. Some frivolous students of Aberdeen held a hypnotic séance. A friend of theirs was hypnotized and made to go through certain illusions. Then a wet towel was put upon his neck, and it was suggested to him that a sharp knife had been drawn right across his neck to cut his throat, and that he was dead. It was such fun. The students danced for joy. But what was their surprise when they found the man was stone dead? It taught the eternal truth. What man thinks that he is, that he shall be. Now, man is trying to express himself on the different planes of his being by appropriating to himself different vehicles of expression. When he meets with opposition, an obstacle, he chafes like a caged lion. Load the limbs of a man with fetters of iron and see the result. It is really this: when we can push forward without opposition, it causes pleasure, a sense of happiness. When we are held back, it causes pain. Place good food before a healthy man. See how he likes it. It is because he knows that he is making an addition to himself. It brings on a sense of moreness, and pleasure follows. Of course, there are higher grades of this sense of moreness. Some ancient doctors defined passion as an accession of strength due to the surcharge of arterial blood in the veins. All pleasure is from strength, all pain from weakness. There can be no question as to this fact. There is a fire burning. Heap coals. The more coals, the brighter and steadier the flame. All obstacles are really coal feeding the flame of the spirit. They spur a man on. The vibrations of pain are often blessings in disguise. They drive the lesson home. The effect is not different from the cause. Both are the obverse and reverse of the same coin. Painful results grow out of deeds that clash with the interests of the divinity within, which is for freedom. Lord, I want nothing, neither health, nor beauty, nor power. Give me freedom, and I am content. This is Jivan Mukti. This is the highest ideal of life. Thinking of the little pleasures of the senses has brought us to this: to dance, to laugh, to weep, and before the tears are gone, to begin over again. Look at my condition: slave of the flesh, slave of the mind, wanting to have this, that, and what not. Darkness behind, darkness ahead. Such is the wail of ignorance. Get rid of it, O my friend. It is your greatest, direst enemy. Let the light of knowledge dissipate this darkness of ignorance. The Lord above is our refuge. He alone is strength. In Him we live and have our being. Where seek you for your ideals? Here it is. Freedom. You are rushing to it, and so am I. Welcome everything that helps you, yea, compels you to strike one more blow in the noble cause of emancipation. Can a marble figure brook the blow that an iron mass can bear? No, Slave is slave, caressed or whipped. Fetters, though of gold, are not less strong to bind. Thus, let us work it out. Let us cut short this show of 5 minutes with death and decay as its sequel. We shall go beyond this to the one source, God, and there is peace. Summary. This chapter presents the yogi's view of life as an evolving divine process. Life is meant for growth, not stagnation, and all experiences, both joyful and painful, are designed to awaken and refine the soul. The yogi recognizes that the journey is forward-moving, God-ward, even when shadowed by fear, weakness, or confusion. Each human being is inherently powerful and participates in the divine plan by aligning their thoughts and actions with spiritual principles. Your life, your environment, and your circumstances are expressions of your inner development. Key takeaways. Life is an evolutionary journey directed by the soul. Experiences reflect inner development. Stagnation is death. Conscious movement is divine. Action. Items. Reflect daily on your current life experience and ask, what is this teaching me about my soul's evolution? Affirm, I am moving forward, God-ward. Begin journaling patterns in life that may be clues to your spiritual lessons. Chapter 2. The Ideal and the Practical. Here are 2 words, imagination and fancy. What is the distinction between the two? Well, the one is closely related to the positive and the conscious side of our character. The other can claim kinship with the negative and the receptive side only. Take a youth starting in life. He has not been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He is poor and has absolutely none to look to for help of any sort whatsoever. Now, suppose he has spirit, and instead of sitting down and bewailing his lot, he forms a definite plan of conduct, throws his mind forward into the future, and decides to reach a certain state of development. He pictures to himself that state in its perfection, plans out the methods whereby he is to achieve it, takes in the difficulties to be met with and conquered, and by an effort of common sense reasoning sees the actual amount of good accruing to humanity and to all of God's creatures in general. He has had to think hard in order to construct the whole picture. He has had to breathe life upon it by repeating the images in connection with the whole picture. He has had to acquire knowledge, seek the advice of men more experienced than himself, and all the while he has had to keep up a brave and hopeful attitude of mind. And mark you, he scorns to think of failure. It is for him to try his level best. It is for nature, which is a hard, though a just pay mistress, to bring him his reward in its due season. The above is a fair example of the exercise of imagination. Fancy plays us tricks. It is not the man who pulls the strings this time. He simply yields himself to the influence of all sorts of impossible daydreams. His mind is a sieve for thoughts to pass in and out. It is an aimless, idle, wandering, and brings ready victims for the pitch and toss game of men whose principle is to do others before the latter can have a turn at them. A man is what his ideals are. If one man with an ideal makes 50 mistakes in a day, the man without an ideal is sure to commit many more. This is a simple truth, yet it will bear repetition here. All muscular actions, whether mental or physical, are simply fragments from the ideal. The life of the ideal is in the practical. It is the ideal that has penetrated the whole of our life, whether we philosophize or perform the hard, everyday duties of life. It is the ideal that has made us what we are and will make us what we are to be. The principle is seldom expressed in the practical, yet the ideal is never lost sight of. Pavhari Baba by Vivekananda. The very fact of the ideal being present in your mind foreshadows its fulfillment. Our thoughts set up a magnetic center within us, like attracts like. Good thoughts draw to themselves corresponding thoughts. This fact is very emphatic. Each tree brings forth fruits of its kind. If we think well, we cannot act ill. The greatness of a man must find its measure in the greatness of his thoughts, and not in the amount of money in his pocket or the bluster on his tongue. Our ideal is the hinge upon which our future turns. We create our own fate. The first essential is to pitch our aims high. Let us look upward and upward alone. Let us pray to God for strength by all means, but let us be prepared to deserve His grace by walking a straight path. If we weave our thoughts around a grand purpose in life, the ideal so formed may take material form any day. Its impulsion may stir up concretions of gross physical matter into activity and may clap spurs to the feet of even a lazy hack. So much for the ideal. If the ideal is to be cherished, it must also be nourished. If you simply sit down and desire to get a thing, you will never get it, and it is good for you that you should not. For the practical side of things must never be neglected. Practice makes perfect. Having set currents of holy desire in motion, we must set to deepen them in intensity and volume. Great actions are only transformed great concentrations. Desire expands the will. Action clinches it into strength. Each act in the right direction goes to establish us in our ideal. Action gives us training. Education is for self-discipline. Force of character is what we want. Money, fame, praise, and blame may well take care of themselves. What matters it what the world thinks of me so long as I can think well of myself? Have I a clear conscience? Is my body under my control? Is my mind pure? Do I love Maine? Do I dare to look others straight in the eye? Do I fear anything? The answer to such questions will go to make up the sum of our happiness or misery. A strong will, a steady pulse, a pure mind. These are what we want. But naught comes from naught. Ex nihilo nihil fit. Nothing will drop from the skies. See here, my brother, do you want a thing? Is it a good thing? Then take it. Let us deserve what we desire. That is the energetic way of setting about things. Action, right action, unselfish action. These alone can give us strength. To think is to act. To act is to live. To live is to love. Love, love. That is the sole resource. Therefore, O thou soul, pray to thy primal source, God, for the power to make others happy. Disease may come. Limb after limb may be lopped off. Sorrow may strike thee to the core. Yet cease not to desire nobly, and to bear thyself in action yet more nobly. The privacy of your own room, aye, of your own mind, is the place where you must play the man. We have long lived under the influence of fear, the firstborn of ignorance. Let knowledge come, and with it its power, courage. This is the supreme lesson we have to learn. Fear leads us from death to death. Courage opens the gate into life, serenity, and joy. Summary. This chapter explains the difference between vague fantasies and constructive idealism. To live spiritually means to turn a noble vision into practical steps, training the will, refining the body, and uplifting the mind. Idle dreaming without action leads to disappointment, while committed work in the direction of your ideals strengthens the soul. The true yogi forms an ideal and lives by it with discipline and enthusiasm, even when the world seems indifferent. Strength comes from consistent, positive effort and spiritual alignment. Key takeaways. Ideals must be grounded in action. Imagination is constructive only when paired with will. Training yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically is essential. Action items. Create a clear spiritual ideal and write it down. Take one small daily action to move closer to this ideal. Practice self-discipline in one specific area this week to train your will. Chapter 3. Read and reflect. Whatever is worth doing well. An age-worn saying, but one which cannot be rung too often on human ears. We are mostly selfish, and all blame to us. And this because the light of the Lord within us is so bedimmed by the darkness of the lower nature. Our deeds are accomplished best when we put heart in them, when we see some gain accruing to us. Need I prove this? What is the central pivot we turn upon? Attraction, and its opposite, repulsion. We take an interest in certain things. The former gives us a touch of pleasure. The latter causes pain. Both acts diametrically. And the will, unable to assert itself, is unable to draw to itself the happiness-giving objects. Pain racks the soul. The aim of philosophy is to put an end to pain. It does not bring down upon us the gloom of despair, but the sunshine of cheerfulness. Applying this to our actions, we see how philosophy, in the positive sense, is a true helper. It hands us a weapon which cuts through difficulties. The weapon is wisdom. By wisdom, I mean a light which is self-luminous. Man has an infinite field of consciousness. This sphere, as it widens out, realizes for us all that we want rightly. Our actions become linked together symmetrically, and at the end of the chain of wise activity is the desired object. It is hence wise to acquire wisdom. How to do it? By unfolding the consciousness. How to unfold? Well, there are many methods, most difficult, but I am going to give you a very easy one, applying which success is as sure as that morning follows night. In the ordinary course of things, we walk at a snail's pace, and progress is woefully slow. But we can quicken the pace and climb swiftly by taking ourselves in hand, by training the mind. The mind is a queer storehouse. The schoolboy bakes his brain on a dry course of lessons daily. Why? To train the mind. That is education, controlling the well-nigh uncontrollable, the ever-moving, ever-vibrating mind. We read a good deal, and all to no purpose. Dry learning never brings peace of mind. It never gives control over the mind. It never develops the will, nor does it unfold the consciousness. It simply leads to brain fag, mental cramp. Diffusion of thoughts leads to confusion of results. Now, suppose the brain to be a road filled with mud. A carriage rolls down the road. The wheels have left a deep, straight track right along the road. Another carriage passes on and deepens the track. It is exactly so with the brain. One thought passes through it, and a track is made through the gray matter. The intensity of the thought will determine the depth of the track. As we think, nerve tracks are created, and the repetition of the same thought deepens that nerve track. New sets of atoms start into activity. Brain cells are multiplied, and fresh layers of matter cover up these tracks. A similar thought gives them a blow, and they are shaken up, as it were, into new life. Reading conveys suggestions to the brain and induces certain trains of thought. The human will, if it presses a thought with vigor, increases in force, and mental electricity is thus generated. This is thought force in a nutshell. Now, far greater pressure is exerted if we think by ourselves. The fine nerves of the brain put themselves in a state of tension. More life flows into them, and, as this goes on, the inner powers of consciousness, of which the brain is only an instrument, are called forth from their potential into an active, vigorous condition. We should read only those books which yield us fresh, strong thoughts, in a line with our own aims and aspirations in life. People take up a book and start reading page after page with the speed of an express train. The mind is in a state of utter confusion, and but faint impressions are being made. This is most foolish. Haste makes waste, remember? Books contain thoughts. If these thoughts are clean, pure, uplifting, stimulating, and instructive in nature, we should pause upon them and suck all the life out of them. Let a student sit down to read. Let him read a sentence slowly. Then let him try to grasp the thought and think it over intently. One thought suggests other thoughts. Thus, let him think. Stretch his imagination in connection with that thought as far as possible, and drop it only when he has found a clear-cut, distinct conclusion. Let him thus continue for 15 minutes. He will possibly feel quite tired at the end. But as he continues the practice of deliberate thinking, he will feel a new assurance of power awakening in his mind. Read for 5 minutes. Think for 10. There you have the whole secret. The above practice is very easy, yet most valuable. It will expand your brain and unfold your higher consciousness. The fact is, there is too little manhood in men. Earnestness of the right sort is conspicuous by its absence. Such things as spiritual unfoldment, the conquest of self, are striven after by but few men. Hence, when they resolve upon achieving these, the initial difficulties quench their ardor. First, we must idealize these higher teachings if we have not done so in the past. We must love them as the only things worthy of achievement. It is not the passion of selfish growth that should grip us, but the clear, cheerful atmosphere of purity that should be our guide. Then, when the thoughts of mind are strung up to action, we should find nothing difficult of achievement. Come day, go day, we must stick to our resolve like grim death. Nothing can crush the spirit when it has learned to recognize itself. Hence, let us cherish, nourish, and embellish our higher nature by taking upon our shoulder a little of the heavy karma of the world. Let us do all that we can for our growth, but let us remember that selfishness, when it develops, is like a serpent that warms to life by the heat of our hands. Do not then nurse this viper in your bosom. Be as helpful as you can. Summary: reading alone is not enough. The power lies in reflection, digestion, and deep integration of what you read. A true student of yoga does not merely collect spiritual information. They pause, contemplate, and allow truths to settle into the heart. This chapter encourages serious engagement with spiritual texts and urges readers to question, absorb, and apply. Wisdom is born from the union of study and reflection. Key takeaways: passive reading leads to forgetfulness. Deep reflection leads to wisdom. Spiritual reading should be intentional and slow. Reflection personalizes the teachings and awakens insight. Action items: choose one passage from a spiritual book and meditate on it for 5 minutes. Journal your thoughts after each reading session. Before reading, set the intention. Let this truth become part of me. Chapter 4. Man, Animal and Divine. By the side of the Ganges, close to the Desaswamedh Ghat, there sits a man of nearly 70. He is stark naked. Clad in nature's own garb, the Paramahamsa remains seated in one place, morning, noon, and night. Look at his face. He is of fair complexion. His forehead rises dome-like above his eyes, which are clear, serene, and brilliant with soul fire. His lips have a firm set. In short, his calm and thoughtful eyes, noble forehead, and general features indicate unruffled calmness. great self-control, and immense willpower. For more than 8 years he has been there. In the burning midday sun of June, when the very ground seems all afire, in the biting, bitter cold of December, he sits there. People flock to him in hundreds daily, bring food enough to fill at least 30 stomachs, bow to him, and tell him their many griefs. All his reply is a nod of his head and a look from his eyes. He eats a few fruits and drinks a little milk, and the rest of the food he scatters among people ever ready to pick it up. He never talks, never laughs, or even smiles. His face is always solemn, calm, and rapt. If you go near him as I did, you feel his presence at once. It is at once a magnetic, powerful, and an all-round spiritual personality. Now, just turn from this yogi, for he is nothing else, and follow me to the fish market. I have been there only once, but I will tell you something about it. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. No less than 500 men, women, and boys were there. My first feeling was one of extreme nausea. There was a strong, dirty, abominable smell about the place. The fishermen had brought in fine, living, leaping fish in their nets. They started by taking these out and beating each living fish dead against the hard brick floor of the market. Squabbling, haggling, abusing, spitting were in full swing. The evil stink was nothing to them. It was the smell of the rose flower, as it were. I went out, rather, ran out. I saw many men and women coming out, their hands full of the dirty stuff. Young men, within their teens, were there. Their eyes were pale and hollow. Their skins hung loose upon their bones. Their faces denoted greed and lust. I saw not one person who had a healthy, steady, self-reliant look. They seemed like a pack of beggars who had stumbled into a little money which they must spend upon fish. Indeed, how can it be otherwise? Now, comparing one of these backboneless men with the saint, what conclusion do you draw? The one is the animal man, the other, the divine man. In the one, fear, greed, lust, superstition have made their home. The horrors of the slaughterhouse do not shock him at all. His fleshy coating reflects the inner man out and out. His senses are gross and coarse-fibered. In the other, God is manifesting himself. He is proof against the extreme heat and cold, lust and passion. If a thunderbolt were to fall upon him, he would not lose his calmness, even for the fraction of a moment. Is not that real happiness? To realize that you are not the body, that you can never die, that nothing can touch you, that fire cannot burn you, the sword cannot pierce you, the water cannot drown you. To realize your independence of and mastery over the flesh. This is the true mission of religion. Religion is being and becoming. It is not talk. It is not intellectualism. It is not worldism. It is life and love. God is love. Love is unselfish. It burns for everyone. It does not come easily. Only when we have suffered much, thought much, then and then alone gleams of this universal love shine upon us. It is the dawn of divinity, spiritual awakening. A time comes when we feel this truth, and sympathy for the sufferings of others is the first sign. To serve others is a high privilege. God grants us this opportunity for cleansing ourselves. No higher step can be taken unless we have learnt to be selfless in service. Happiness is not the goal of life, nor is enjoyment. Those that hunt for it never get it. God is the goal of life. Realizing Him, we realize happiness. Such is the power of good that even the least done brings the greatest results. Obey God, serve men. Before you have gone far in this vast path, peace will fold its wings around you. Fear will drop away. worry will be known no more. Therefore, train yourself to serve others, if only one soul. If you have a father, a mother, or someone else depending upon you, serve them with wholehearted zeal. Care not for gratitude, friend. That is their business. If you are in earnest, and the mere fact of your reading yoga proves that you are on the higher path, you will force yourself to be unselfish. In a short time, your higher nature will assert itself, and it will become your second nature. Let us learn to forget our troubles as soon as possible, for these are not permanent. Shattered be self, life, and hope. I will try my humble best to help others with body, brain, and soul. Let that be your brave cry. I am with you in this, and so are thousands of others. Each man is a channel for the expression of God's truths. As we evolve from within outwards, we conform ourselves to the reception of certain gifts. Each man is a power in himself. We have to rise to our best each time we call truths out. They exist in us potentially, and are ever seeking an outlet for right expression. It rests with us entirely what and how far we will unfold. Fate follows us only so long as we fly from it. Contact with a stronger mind, a purer heart, is decidedly to our advantage. It acts as a push upwards. You may be poor in riches, but you may be rich in God's greatest gift, purity in word, deed, and thought. You are as great as anyone, mark you. Daily, you have to light the lamp of light eternal in the secret chamber of your heart. Right knowledge with its right exercise will wipe out your misery, which is ignorance, the greatest enemy of man. Remember, knowledge is within you and never outside. Let me advise you to read sacred things and then reflect upon them. Study the feelings and thoughts that arise within you. Leave the faults of others alone. Look upwards, but never look down upon your inferiors. If you study and meditate, if you analyze yourself honestly, you shall surely bury all your weakness in the light of knowledge. You will rise to the highest level of godliness in time. Live up to it. If you fail, rise again, and again, and yet again. Assert yourself, and strength will surely come. Sincere in your wish, strong in your resolve, nothing can stand in your path. Once again, I say, look ever upwards and onwards. Summary. Man exists between two poles, the animal and the divine. The lower self is driven by instinct, fear, and desire, while the higher self reflects the eternal spirit. The chapter reveals how the divine spark within seeks expression, but is often dulled by habit and worldliness. By understanding and mastering the dual forces within, one can elevate their nature. Man is not fixed. He is an evolving being meant to rise from ignorance to godhood. Key takeaways. You are both animal and divine. The path is to rise into your higher self. Spiritual evolution involves conscious mastery over instinct. You are not meant to be passive. You're called to rise. Action. Items. Observe moments where instinct overrides intention. Pause and breathe. Meditate on the affirmation. I am divine consciousness in human form. Reflect. What qualities in your life are still animalistic, and how can they be refined?
To continue listening, step deeper into the wisdom at Next Level Soul TV, where sacred teachings, spiritual cinema, transformative courses, and divine stories await your soul's unfolding. Enter the portal at www.nextlevelsoul.tv and let your spirit remember what it already knows. Awaken, expand, and evolve.